My name is Davis and welcome to what has recently become the premier destination for Palm content in 2021. And what a journey it has been, because over the past few videos, not only have we unboxed a Palm phone from the Palm OS era, the Trio 650, but we have also unboxed a phone that heralded the webOS years, the Palm Pre. And now, for quite possibly the final installment in this epic trilogy, but probably not, we are going to be unboxing the very final webOS phone ever, the legendary, the mythical HP Pre 3. Yep, it's definitely a bit of a tongue twister, this one. But before we move on, if you like what I do here and want to see some more fun tech content, please smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So let's take a look at the box, and the first thing that you might notice here is that compared to the original pre-box, not only is it a bit more of a conventional design, without the cut-off of the corner down here, but instead of the trusty Palm logo, we have something quite a bit more nefarious. We have an HP logo over here. You might be wondering why, because yes, the Pre 3 was a phone that was created under the infamous HP administration, who bought Palm in 2010 only to shut them down a year later. What was interesting with the Pre 3 on the other hand, though, was that it was very quietly launched in Europe on the 17th of August 2011, just a week before the 24th, the day that HP discontinued Palm. And this is one of those very few European phones that managed to be sold. And while we have it here, let's compare it to the AT&T version that I also have here, that was supposed to come out in America very soon after, but never quite did. And if you are expecting a traditional Palm unboxing experience here, the European phone over here wouldn't disappoint too much, as there is quite a hefty, solid build quality and an air of minimalism to it, isn't there? And despite that, it is a little bit disappointing though to see that compared to the originals pre-box over here, the HP era phones lost some of the fun and originality of the old Palm boxes. Like, just look at this cool tilt over here and the fun, exciting colors. But at least it's not the AT&T box, because while there is a lot of the traditional Palm orange on the sides here, it's just a happy coincidence, as during this period, I believe that almost every AT&T phone, bar the iPhone, came in this type of generic AT&T box. In this box, I've somewhat haphazardly repackaged my old daily driver Pre 3 that I used for around a year, so that you can see how it looked like. But before we get into the box, let's take a look at the outside of it, shall we? So on the front, there is an image of the phone that sadly is not embossed, but at least it says, "Smart means life," which is not a phrase that brims me with confidence. But at least it's not a complete lie, like the liberal use of 4G branding. A lot of people have called out AT&T recently for putting the 5G logo on phones that don't exactly have 5G. And well, it turns out that AT&T were pulling exactly the same trick 10 years ago by putting 4G logos on phones that only had HSPA+, which is barely any faster than traditional 3G. On the other side of this box, on the other hand, we have a picture of the phone with the keyboard slid out, and also some meaningless specs here. For example, it's got a touchscreen. I mean, what phone in 2011 didn't have one? Okay, so let's open the box now, shall we? And we do so by flipping this open and sliding this. Oh dear. And looking inside, we can see that we've got the quick start guide, which is quite similar to the one that we saw in the original Pre, except, as you can see, if you are particularly studious, that is in English this time. Lucky us. However, underneath this, we have the HP is here to help slip. Yeah, I don't think so. And finally, under that, we have the phone with the famous AT&T texting and driving, it can wait screen protector. And while I feel that this is indeed a noble cause, I feel that the execution is just a tiny bit heavy-handed here. And if we were to remove the phone, we can see that it just sits in this little cardboard slot, which isn't exactly the most premium experience in the world. And if we flip the cardboard over here, this is where all your accessories would have been, and it would have made for a pretty mediocre unboxing experience. Okay, so now that we've seen the American packaging, which wasn't so good, let's get to the European box, which luckily is much better. So as we can see on the front of this cardboard sleeve thing we've got over here, there's a large image of the phone, which is lovely, isn't it? On the side over here, we've got some specifications. As we can see, it's all in English. I initially thought that this was a French phone, but judging from the language here, evidently not. And then over here it says it's got the smartphone inside, which is fantastic. It's got a battery, EU and UK adapters. Okay, this must be a UK phone then. Micro USB cable, stereo headset, and many more exciting things. On the back, we've got designed by HP in California, so they managed to change Palm to HP, which is jolly good for them. And on the other side is almost nothing. I'm sure HP of all companies know how expensive printer ink can be, so I totally understand. So now let's remove the sleeve. And what we will find will shock you, because it's almost exactly the same image, except it doesn't have the cards on it, which is just very impressive, I'm sure. And on the sides, there's nothing here, and there's a lovely HP logo on the back. Well, when I say lovely, it's a bit of a lie. It's not a very pretty logo, is it? No wonder they changed it. Okay, so now let's try to remove the lid now. There's a bit of plastic, so let's just peel that away. And then let's open it up. Wow, that is a phone. And as we can see here, there is no ugly texting and what is it? Driving. Yep. And as we can see here, there's no ugly texting and driving. Screen protector here. It's all plain and beautiful. Doesn't it just look so premium? We've got this lovely black piece of plastic that the phone is situated in, and let's just get it out. It's quite firmly in place. Let's shake it out. Oh, come on. It's almost too snug in there, isn't it? Okay, let's do that. There we go. It really needs a forceful touch. Let's remove the screen protector, as that is my favorite bit. Ah, isn't that lovely? So underneath the plastic that we've just removed is a fabulous 3.5-inch display, which is roughly the same size as the original iPhone, and it's coated in Gorilla Glass, which is a definite improvement over the original Pre, which had a 3.1-inch display, which was protected by plastic. Like the original Pre on the other hand, but to a somewhat lesser extent, the screen glass was also slightly curved, which meant that it flows into the rest of the Riverstone shaped device and just makes for a fantastic hand feel. And let me also comment that the HP era brought much improved build quality, which is always welcome. Because not only is the slider mechanism actually good, it's quite sturdy and doesn't really wobble at all, but the plastic, which is a lovely soft touch feel, after all of these years still hasn't deteriorated at all, unlike the sticky mess that my Pre Plus and Pre 2 have become. This was finally the hardware that webOS really deserved. I feel to this day that this is the perfect size for a phone, because not only does it feel fantastic, like a smooth Riverstone in your hand, but the screen is now large enough for most of your daily needs. And at 480 by 800 pixels, you can't discern any pixels at all with the naked eye. And the colors and viewing angles, if I recall, were pretty good as well. On the front as well, for the very first time on a Palm device, we have a front-facing camera over here, and it's VGA quality, which in 2011 was still regarded as awful. On the back of the phone, we have an HP logo that likes to fall off with age, and also a 5-megapixel camera, which for the very first time on a Palm phone had autofocus. It took okay photos. On the top of the phone, we've got the headphone jack and also the very famous Palm ringer switch, which we still find on iPhones today. And in the corner of the phone, like the original Pre, we have the power button. One of the best parts of the Pre 3, on the other hand, was the keyboard. Now, compared to the original Pre, which we've got over here, we can see that the keyboard is far larger in size. And because the slider has a little bit less of a curve to it, there's less of a lip, so you don't get the feeling that you're typing in a shoebox. And also on the edge of the keyboard, well, it's no longer sharp enough to cut through cheese, which is quite useful, I'm sure. And while BlackBerry keyboards do have their fans, I feel that the Pre 3 is probably the best physical keyboard that I've ever used, apart from perhaps the Palm Pixie. The gummy keys with a perfect tactile response just feels incredible to use. And also, the mirror on the back of the phone, unlike the original Pre, is no longer warped. But it's got a bit of a scratch for some reason. That's traditional Palm build quality, isn't it? Unfortunately, I did find the Pre 3's back cover quite difficult to remove, so let's see how well I do here. You just slide your fingernail underneath there, undo that clip, undo this clip. Oh no, I've already turned it on. That's not what I wanted to save that till later. Okay, I can't remove this back cover, but that's probably for the best because it was quite easy to crack. But underneath the back cover, you would have found a 1250 milliamp battery, which is still mediocre. And however, the touchstone compatibility for wireless charging did definitely help a bit. So you would just pop it on here, align the magnets, and it would charge. I was going to say at this point, I wonder if this 10-year-old battery still turns on, but evidently it does. So while we wait for this phone to turn on, and yes, because all webOS phones take an age to start, let's take a look through the rest of the box. So we've got this lovely piece of black plastic over here, which is recyclable. And then underneath that, we've got the quick start guide. If you guys have seen my previous Palm unboxing video of the original Pre, it was a very similar design, except that had the corner folded over like so, and this little piece of cardboard was in orange. This black is quite disappointing indeed. But inside here we've got another getting started guide. So you would notice instantly that this opened horizontally, unlike horizontally and vertically like we saw on the AT&T phone. And so that's a very interesting thing, I'm sure. It tells you fascinating things like how to slide out the keyboard, because you definitely would not have worked that out yourself. However, what's interesting with the European phone is that it's got a separate gesture guide instead of being combined into the getting started guide. So you've got all of your gestures over here. As we can see, there's quite a few. And then underneath here, we've got another hilarious HP is here to help slip, except with the United Kingdom number. I wonder if that still works. Can't be bothered to try that out. And underneath all of this, we've got this magical black door. Let's see what it contains, shall we? Nothing so far. Let's open that next bit again. And here are the accessories. Let's see what it contains. So we've got the charger, which is still the same Palm charger. It's still got the chrome domes on the ends. And then we've got the same Palm headset. I think it's the same one. Yes, it is. Then we've got the Palm. Yeah, this still says Palm on it. So they've updated all of the other branding to say HP, but the charger still ultimately says Palm. And then we've got the European and UK power adapters. I can't be bothered to take the UK one out. And underneath all that, actually it has come out. Underneath all that, we have the another user guide, but this is the general one apparently. And then the limited warranty. fantastic. Unfortunately, to use this phone in 2021, we would need to unlock it and also bypass the HP service, which are now defunct, which is possible but very time consuming. So as lovely as this new example is, we can see that the light in the gesture area works and everything. Let's take a look at my old AT&T version just for, a quick guide through the phone. Now, as we can see with this 1.4 gigahertz processor that I've actually overclocked to 1.9 gigahertz, webOS finally had the hardware to realize its potential. Just opening apps over here. That one's already open, let's try you. Just opening apps over here, as you can see, is just very snappy. And also just flipping through them like so, reorganizing it, it's all extremely smooth, unlike what we saw on the original Pre. Just look at how quickly I can swipe through these cards, rearrange, and also close them. It's a lovely sound effect that is. Unfortunately, there was only 512 megabytes of RAM, so with the higher resolution screen, it would occasionally run out of memory, despite having the same amount of RAM as the Pre Plus, Pre 2 and Veer. But even so, with this beautiful hardware, snappy performance and gorgeous screen, the final webOS phone, the Pre 3, was a great send-off for a brand that not only created the handheld computer market with the Pilot, but also pioneered the smartphone market with the Trio and then transformed it again with the Pre. And that sadly brings us to the end of the video. So we have now unboxed the Trio 650, a Pre, and now a Pre 3. I wonder what on earth could be next. Another webOS device maybe? Well, make sure to like the video and subscribe to find out. Comment if you'd like to see any more in-depth videos of the phones that I've covered. And on that note, toodaloo.